Hello, everybody, and welcome again back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. We have another amazing guest for you today, Hawa Who. Hawa is a poet, author, model, and the creative mind behind Petals of My Heart, a poetry collection that explores the nuanced emotions of love, loss, and self-discovery, drawing from her Ghanaian roots and experiences in Pittsburgh. Her work spans across poetry, fashion, and cybersecurity, offering audiences a unique perspective on resilience, cultural identity, and the rewards of independent publishing. Hawa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm very happy to be here.
It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. Now, I'm sure, as you know by now, we do like to have an icebreaker on this show. And your question today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most, and why?
I was like going between Squidward and Candace, but I will have to go with Candace, yes, and Bert, only because Candace is very misunderstood. Reason being that her brothers are actually causing chaos, but the mom is just not seeing it, right? So it makes her feel delusional. Also, she's a very cute character.
Okay, I like that one. I like that one. I think it's the first time I've heard somebody use that character actually, so I definitely like that one. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? It sounds like you've touched on quite a few things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today?
I mean, there's a lot of like routes that happened here, for me to get here, right? Um, And I believe like my passion, I mean, obviously I'm very passionate about mental health and it really has, I would say it's a huge part of who I am, right? And that started from cultural backgrounds and really like just bad experiences from whether it's like family, relationships or friendships, right? Um, so I've had a um Like, I mean, in our previous conversation, I did tell you, like, I grew up with my grandmother and she instilled lots of wisdom in me. And so, that was like one of the resilience that, keeps me going and being here, right? Because I feel like, in this world that we live in, a lot to deal with. I would say, went through, such as like my trauma, really, that, I went through growing up and the wisdom that was instilled in me really just led me here to writing a book, modeling, and yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And it's quite an incredible journey. I mean, when you talk about poetry and then you use cybersecurity in the same sentence, it's always a little bit interesting. How did you kind of decide where you were finally going to end up after trying so many things?
Are you referring to me being an author or creative?
Creative author, yeah.
Well, I mean, my thing is writing, and it's my coping mechanism, writing. So let's say I get into a situation, I just pull out my notes from, my iPhone and I just start writing and just processing things. So, over the years, I've just written, and I thought to myself, okay, I've written multiple books. I just never published, right? Because I mean, I was still dealing with certain traumas and self-doubts, whether my work is good or, you know, am I betraying certain people for talking about these kind of things in my book, right? So at a point, I just got up one day and I just told myself, listen, you have so much work here. No. But also, what really pushed me to put it out was because I had technology at the like in my hand, right? It simplifies everything. So all of my thoughts, imagine all of my thoughts in my notes, I combine them and I just push it into GPT and I tell it, what can I do with this? Or can you help me uh out? And so we're going back and forth, kind of like my assistant or my brainstorming buddy. Um figured out, okay, I'm also like very explain it in a sense of like I really do companionship and love. That's why I specifically chose and that's also what keeps me going. Just companionship and love. Because writing and creating helps me heal. That way I can provide and companionship to the people around me are very genuine for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's you have some very valid points in there. I mean, really do need to love yourself before you can love somebody else. I wish somebody had told me that 20 years ago, but hey, that's neither here nor there. What would you say procrastination is for you personally, and how do you define it?
This procrastination. Okay, so I learned procrastination for myself is that my brain requesting for a break. I didn't understand what it was. I was tired, but I had no definition of it. Just constant tiredness, which makes me not want to do the work. And so my brain just tells me, okay, this is going to take forever to finish. Just take your time, relax, go do this, go do that. I'm still relaxing. I'm stressing out about the work. So it makes me procrastinate more until I did the further work to understand what it meant. My problem, now I'm understanding procrastination is just your brain telling you you need a mental break, actual mental break. And so tasks that I want to do, it looks like a lot. So just take a step back, actually rest. And the actual rest is actual resting, not like thinking about the work that I'm going to do that's going to make me keep procrastinating. So I would actually just go rest. And the way I, rest is by exercising, walking, jumping, dancing, whatever, to just get my uh, empty and then come back into the. It helps me a lot. So, I mean, do I procrastinate? Yes. Task that I'm not familiar with. So, I mean, you're just never gonna be perfect at mastering up. And I'm not good at it.
So, what would you say is your secret sauce for beating procrastination then?
So, also being procrastination is creativity and dancing. How I tackle it personally because it frees my mind. Frees my mind to where I can come and focus on what I need to focus on. That's what I would say.
And just touching on the recent comments there, that you've got several books that you wrote, and you've got one that's out there, but you have several more in sort of the wind. And you said that it's a creative process that kind of helps you process things. So the common sort of saying is that writing a book is 98% procrastination and 2% actually writing it. How true did you find that in your case?
Extremely true. That is so true. Because, I mean, the entire process of like just putting the words on paper from within, whenever it's within, whether good or bad, there's going to be a battle that's happening, right? Because you're putting you on paper, you're battling with something within that's you. You're not worthy of self doubt. Want to just be stuck inside, just constantly like, okay, maybe this is not good. And maybe let me ask this person this is more. But well, they just do it, even if they don't like it. I mean, do did it anyways. Right? So I would say that is extremely, extremely true. Because once it was done, it's just like, and another thing I realized was once it was done and I pushed it out to people to read it, it only took them roughly about 10 to 20 days to read it. It took me years and years to just say, okay, I need to finally do this.
And you've gone through a lot of different things on your journey. What would you say was one of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome, though?
Turn to my life
The book itself, yeah.
itself. Biggest challenge I had to overcome was deal with how people receive my work. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerability in my book. I and so I touched on self-discovery, vulnerability, whatever. But also like the first intro, you're opening the book, you're seeing Love's intro. And Love's intro is just like God's silent father, burdened mother. And that was just a metaphor, right? So silent father was just emotionally absent father. And burdened mother, obviously she's burdened because there's so many confusion happening. Because if I don't know how you feel and we have children together, this is our life. It was I just didn't know how it was going to be received because part of me felt like, okay, um, I'm kind of betraying my parents by just telling the truth because it's my truth, right? But it's just a condition that I've been conditioned to feel as though I'm betraying them because I'm telling people this is who they are. And
It makes sense. And you know, it's something that prevents some people who want to write biographies. It prevents them from releasing it. But my argument is always that eventually the truth comes out anyway. And if a person really is that way, then everyone's going to know it anyway. They're just gonna, it's gonna, they're gonna. I mean, eventually it comes out, right? It's like that backed up drain in a basement, right? Whenever it rains, you know, you might not see anything. Eventually, it'll come up, right?
no, yeah, that was already out now, and it was received very well because my mom purchased a book because there's also a chapter that says maternal shadows, and I tackled her life because she went through lots of trauma with her mother that and she poured into me, and I can see that around the motherly figures around me, a bit oblivious to it because that's all they know, and they just they've been conditioned to think it's the right thing to do. Mom, the relationship I have with her is very special, only because she like I can feel the real the true love she has for me. Right, as much as like she's traumatized me, she's done all of these things. She's wanting to have a relationship with me and wants to unbend whatever trauma she's caused. And you can feel real love from I feel real love from her and her heart. I mean, I dedicated that chapter and it was nice to see how she received it. She told me she was proud of me, and that felt very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to have somebody who I guess believes in you more than you believe in yourself, right? That's what we all need. But having that support from your immediate family especially is important because those are our, you know, sort of our first bonds, right? Do you think that, and you know, this is just a question in general, do you think that if you hadn't have gone through some of those things that you went through, that you would have been able to write the
And that's why I embrace everything I've gone through in this life. Gone through a lots of terrible things. I mean, like I told you, there's wisdom that was instilled in me from my grandmother. She's a very wise woman. My mom is also very wise. The way she sees the world, she sees human beings, and that I think that was a tool that was instilled in me to help me with all of the trauma and the problems I was going to face in this life. I mean, once I got to like a very space, right? Like I mean, maybe a space that just makes me feel like we're okay now. The book, we can actually like tell. Yeah, I think that everything I want to really meant to happen. I think it's just a fate.
And you mentioned just do it, you know, Nike's favorite slogan, you know, just do it. And you also mentioned that you work in the rewards of independent publishing. So I know that there may be people out there that are sitting on a book, maybe they've written a book, maybe they want to write a book, and you know, maybe they've only thought about, you know, independent, or maybe they've only thought about, I'm sorry, going through like a publishing house or like a publisher. Can you go into a little bit about the rewards of independent publishing?
I mean, it says it for itself, right? Because you're in control of what happens to your book and the royalties. I mean, you're in charge of them, right? So as much as like you're self-publishing, you can also distribute to Amazon on your own. So what I do is I go through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, but I also do a self-fulfillment, right? There's a factory that fulfills some of my books, uh, ads, and I just distribute it that sense, I would say if you're looking to self-publish, benefits that comes out of it is that you're gonna be in control of your income when it comes to the book. Choose to sell your books, right? What companies instead of going through a self-publishing where you have to, I mean, sorry, going through a traditional publishing service where you have to negotiate with them. They have to tell you, hey, what is going to work best for you. So this is what if you don't know what you're doing, you're just gonna fall for it and you're just gonna let it happen until you just learn what you really want to do. Right. So for me, I would say if you're looking to write a book, it's not a bad thing to, want to go through a traditional publishing. It's also nice to do it on your own because you're going to have those tools in your hands to be able to repeat it over and over and over and over. And also just teach people how to do it. Yeah.
And when it comes to writing a book, in your opinion, do you think that it's often well, and maybe in your case, was it more that sort of that feeling that maybe you weren't quite sure how the material would be received? Or was it maybe more about maybe not knowing how to do it the first time?
I did not know anything I was doing. I just told you, I have lots of wisdom and I have lots of tools in my hand. So I'm a problem solver. I'm gonna figure anything out. So all of this was my issue. It was my problem. And it took me roughly about, well, when I wrote the book and it was done, having to write the book on its own happened over the years, right? To where I got to the point of like, oh, I just to do this and forget about all the thoughts that are flowing through my head. So once I was done and I looked at it and I stared at it for a little bit to just, soak it all in. Now comes, okay, you have to share these books with others because I mean it's nice. People are telling you it's cool and it's a nice book. I had to figure it out on YouTube, but also like I'm an interest of mine. So I've been seeing other authors publish their stuff while I wasn't even publishing mine. Right? I've just been watching how they're doing it. It's just subconscious. It's a subconscious thing to do. Like when uh you're a doctor or whatever, you're just interested in certain things. When it came to time for me to actually publish it, all these thoughts are coming back. Like, okay, Mel Robbins did this, this. Do you get what I mean? It's just like it's all coming back to me. Like this is how this person went about it. So I then go back into my AI chat GPT because it's what I do best, technology. It's my personal assistant. I go in and I'm telling it, hey, I just want a book. I need your help. To do this, to do that, to do this. See, I like to actually have control over my work or my life. And so that's really what made me actually go about um well, yeah, in that sense it was like everything, everything. But I enjoy this. So it's easy for me. And in the end, I have all the tools, applicate it, and I can teach someone and I get lots of Instagram messages. Hey, I want to self-publish. Can you help me? Yeah, of course, it's free. I'll give it to you. Like, just it's easy. I'll just help you do it.
You mentioned something interesting there, and I kind of want to touch on this topic too because it's personally I have a lot of respect for people who write books just because it's something I wouldn't do, and I think the reason that I really don't do it right now is it's funny because before I used the excuse that it would take a lot of work, and now the excuse is well with AI, half the books on Amazon now or something like that are completely AI written, and then you've got all these other things. So I think part of me and part of the discussion revolves around how do you feel about somebody just using AI to write a book and then distribute it? I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? The first way is, well, the idea of the book came from them, they have the knowledge, maybe they just used AI to write it. But would that book be received the same as someone who doesn't know anything about the topic and they just, went into like Scribd or something and just said, "Hey, write me this book."
There's so many ways to go about like tackling this kind of thing. Like, so my thing is, I do believe in the power of AI, but I also believe in the power of creativity and things from scratch. Well, I mean, it would be hard for me to discredit it because at the end of the day, it's still work. You would still have to prompt AI to give you what you want it to do, right? And even if it's writing, if it's spitting out everything, you still have to put in extra work to remove the word, put it on, whether it's Google Docs, this, able to explain what your book is about. I think that's it. It's for you to get credit and, to make an impact and, world or, whatever it is you're passionate about. just be able to explain what your book is about, right? And that's why I put in so much work into my book and only use AI when I'm stuck or when I need formatting or this, right? Just really just be able to explain what your book is about and okay.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And what do you think are some of the best AI tools that people can use today?
This is exciting. So well, I just have to say ChatGPT. It's my number one, my assistant. He's my assistant for anything. Whether I'm stuck in traffic, I need to do some work, uh, brainstorm, T, Mid Journey, video. Microsoft has like some AI embedded in them. These every software has AI embedded. And it's like Wix. I use Wix, but Wix has an AI assistant, which I mean, it just calling Wix, hey, I'm stuck and I need help on like this. You just ask the AI, hey, how can I navigate this? I'm doing my SEO. How can I go here? Just help me. Yeah. I mean, I mostly use Midjourney and ChatGPT and InVideo.
Okay. And there's a lot of people that are kind of afraid of AI. They're afraid of its capabilities and we are losing a lot of it. But, it should be more about enhancement and not replacement. Is that correct?
I don't think AI could ever replace. What AI does is it solves problems, creates newer jobs from my perspective. So, for instance, before you used to hire a virtual assistant to help you uh, do this, do that. Now you have AI to do that for you, right? In that sense, if you don't have the time to use AI to schedule, you hire someone that can help you use the AI for you. So as much as like it's replacing jobs, it's also creating new jobs.
Hmm. I think there was a meme about that, and I have a question actually that revolves around it. So the meme was there's this lady that said, thanks a lot AI, you got it backwards. I didn't want you to make my art and my art and poems and pictures and stuff. I wanted you to do my dishes and not now I'm stuck doing my dishes and you're doing my art. Like, come on. And I guess the question behind that is, you know, um, from a creative standpoint, it probably differs too, depending on the subject material. So, reading an AI book that's an instruction manual for a car is probably, would you say that that's more kind of palatable to people than trying to read an AI story that was written by AI or, a poem that was written by AI?
It's a hard question to answer, honestly. That's a very hard question to answer. I'm gonna have to just let that one just marinate for a bit.
Well, I mean, maybe what we could do just as an experiment, and we could just, I could just make up something on the fly. We could see what ChatGPT comes up with a poem.
Try.
Actually, interestingly enough, I did have ChatGPT take a poem and actually write something. And since you're the expert on poetry here, because I'm not a poet, let me just see if I can pull it up here real quick because it was a poem that was based around Invictus, but it was actually written around something else. Here, let me see if I can find it. I can't find it right now. I'll just get it to redo it. It took like 30 seconds. So if I tell it to write me a poem on, well, I guess we'll compare apples to apples then. One of your poems revolves around. Give me a topic that one of your poems revolves around: love and romance, or diversity,
Discovery.
self-discovery. Write me a poem on self-discovery.
Are you looking for a prompt to tell it?
I'm just telling it to do it.
You
Okay.
gotta be specific. It depends how you want it. Like,
Well, I don't know. I didn't prompt it with anything. I just said, write me a poem on self-discovery. This is all I did. It said, pathways within. In the quiet shadows where no one sees lie whispers of truth like leaves on trees. A path unfolds with each gentle step, a journey inward where secrets are kept. Through echoes of past and dreams untold, you search for warmth in the unknown cold. In fragments of silence, you start to hear the voice that's been waiting, always near. Each fear you shed, each tear you dry, reveals the stars in your inner sky. The masks fall off, the layers thin, as you find the light that shines within. Self discovery, a river vast, it flows through future, present, and past. And in the end, you come to see you found the place you're meant to be. That was ChatGPT, ladies and gentlemen, in about 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm not going to write poetry now.
That was that's some sweet poetry though.
Yeah, and all I did was tell it to say write me a poem. So I mean, it raises some interesting questions in that, would you have been able to tell that a person didn't write that?
Can tell because I mean, really, it's just about understanding the kind of person they are. So, for instance, if I use that exact poetry that ChatGPT you just read, and I take it to be my own, it's not going to make sense to my audience because it doesn't sound like what I'm about. So it's like there's a way I say things or I phrase things. Um, tell that's not what I'm saying, right? So, if, for instance, whatever you just spat out, I would play around with it with ChatGPT. I would just copy it, and some parts that I really like, but there's a nonchalant or unbothered tone, right? Like it's deep, but it's still a bit nonchalant or unbothered. And so I would kind of tweak it and be like, and tell it, hey, I like this part of it, but just give it slight unbothered tone self-discovery, but she's still unbothered, and it's just what life is.
Yeah, it definitely raises a lot of questions too, especially when it starts to do like paint pictures and stuff too, or does illustrations for books. I mean, some of the stuff is absolutely terrifying that it comes up with, but some of it isn't that bad. There's actually I had another guest on the show from Hollywood, and he said that within 5 years we're going to have TVs that it'll be like almost like ChatGPT, where you will actually tell it what you want to watch, what kind of show, and then it will make it for you. Do you think that that's something that people will get into?
I mean, I mean, I'm off of AI. I love how it solves problems, right? But obviously, I work in cybersecurity, so my main concern would be the same as your concern, right? The deep fakes tends to be other people, or really, like, I don't know what other people's concerns are. Have much concern only because I work on the security side of AI and technology. And so I see two different perspectives. We can protect you. But this is really good for innovation. Like the world needs innovation and capability of what humans are really capable of when it comes to technology.
Actually, yeah, let's touch on that security topic just for really quick. One of the things that is worrying some experts in terms of AI is that AI never gets tired. It never stops. You tell it to do something, it'll keep going till it's done. So, in terms of cybersecurity, I mean, once quantum computing comes out, and I don't know how close we are to that, Google's got one, right? But let's say I have a quantum computer that can solve, an equation or can solve a problem that it takes a supercomputer, 1,000 years to do, and it can do it in a matter of seconds. So where does that leave us with like passwords and even two-factor authentication? Because with AI, with a quantum computer, I can crack any account, any password with two-factor authentication within about 3 days. That's using current models. That's not even accounting for like, how it's going to improve later on. I mean, are they looking at quantum resistant passwords or something now? Or
Thing about cybersecurity as well. I mean, as technology evolves, cybersecurity also has no choice but to evolve, right? So, for instance, what you just explained, cybersecurity is looking right now. We're not, for instance, my company. Obviously, it's university, and so you have students, and they just have no choice but to use AI, right? So, in that sense, there are certain policies that restrict certain kinds of AI. Cybersecurity comes in. So, uh, NIST, or I'm sure you know NIST, right? So they regulate is okay and what's not okay. So as quantum computing is like coming out, cybersecurity is improving. So MFA has no choice but to get better to secure all of these things. And that's why I'm not worried about these kind of things. Because as technology evolves, security has to evolve. And it's going to be.
Just devil's advocate though. I mean, once you have AIs that can make their own AIs and maybe better versions of themselves, then doesn't it just become like this arms race against who's going to be better faster?
Answer it. Hard to explain that one. I'm not sure.
And it's just something that crossed my mind too, and especially when you talk about content and books, and we talk about what's going on in the world, and I think that you're right with the deep fakes. Right now, there are apps that will take 300 pictures, and then they will make your face, and hey, I might not even be sitting here talking to you right now. I might be off, playing a game or something. I'm getting in my last round of golf, but I'm still technically here talking to you, right? Definitely amazing different technologies, but I just think that we're advancing pretty fast. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I get it. It's from my perspective, maybe because I see it as it's being developed or as it's
Mhm.
coming front end. So I've probably soaked it in before anyone that's it, like having a user experience, right? And for instance, I have friends that aren't into technology or anything. And so when they come into my house and I'm doing all these tasks that they would hire someone to do, or they wouldn't even know all about it. Their minds. They're like, wait, maybe I can use ChatGPT to tell to for my sister. So right, no, you can't really do it. Like there's certain things you can't go to that extent of, right? But I mean, it's still developing. It's still coming. And but I mean, I wouldn't be scared. Really, I really would not be that scared. There are policies and rules put in place to help you. There are going to be hackers. Of course, there are going to be people that are going to like try and or deceive with technology. Just about educating yourself and involved in what's happened, how life is changing. It's just like anything, really. If like, we had no choice but to adjust and with life, right? So you can't sit there and in fear of, well, technology is going to take my job. Learn about technology, learn about what it's doing. That's going to make you find another job that simplifies your living. Why I'm in the space of technology, because the way I pictured my life was um, so much freedom in my hands, being able to travel, work from my own comfort or space, whatever. Also, like understand. I love innovation. I'm an industrious woman as well. So, like that was the technology has changed my life, and I think that's what I want to push out to people. Right? I understand it's a lot to be scared about, right? Because you don't know what's going on, and it's normal to be afraid. But also, just in order for you to solve that fear, deep into it and understand it, yeah, it will help.
Speaking of just how fast things are advancing, and just looking into that, where do you see yourself in the next year? What's next on the map for you? Yeah, the next year. Yeah.
Next year, I'm dropping another book, and it's called "You're a Lumber Girl." Yeah, it's a very beautiful one. I mean, my first book, Petals of My Heart, I touched on how I was healing, right? But in this one, You're a Lover Girl, that's part of who I am. I'm a lover girl. I love love. I love being nice and sweet to people. I'm very nice and sweet to myself. And so it's easy for me to do that to people, for people. But part of being a lover girl comes with a lot. Everyone wants a piece of you. You can't just give that to everyone. In that book, I'm really just talking about how I'm a lover girl, and all that. It's like so. In the next year, I would you. I'll send you a copy of Your Lover Girl. And also, I'm looking to do some interesting work when it comes to technology and AI. Yeah.
Excellent. So we're gonna pin that. We're gonna say within the next year you are gonna release that book, and we're gonna have another show to discuss that book because we're gonna have to dive deep into that to see how it all fits together. Now, this has been a great conversation, Hawa, but we are coming out close to the time. Is there anything that you felt maybe I didn't ask or I should have asked that didn't ask, or anything that we should have covered that maybe we didn't cover today?
No, I think the introduction was amazing. I think we really touched on what we needed. I love the procrastination workshop. Is it pitch stop?
Pit stop.
Pitch stop. I love the procrastination pitch stop. And um, no, I think we really did well. Yes.
And just before we wrap up here, what is the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach me on Instagram at Hawa Who Official. And find me on. I don't use LinkedIn much, but you can find me on LinkedIn. Use Instagram, but also if you want to have a conversation, you can send me an email at Hawa Who.
Okay, and not to worry to all our listeners, we will be putting that in the show notes for you, so you won't have to grab a paper and pen and try to rewind and figure that out. So once again, Hawa, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a real pleasure. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe just go out and be that inspiration and motivation for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.